Um, so if you haven't watched last week's call on what limiting beliefs are, like how to define them, you might want to watch that first because sometimes I think the things we say to ourselves, we believe that we're just like pushing ourselves or like, oh, hang on, football wants to go outside. I'm sorry. So sorry. So I think sometimes when we say things to ourselves, we don't necessarily hear how negative we're talking to ourselves. We think we're just like pushing ourselves or trying to motivate ourselves or being, what's the word I want to say? Like, just like giving ourselves like good criticism. But in reality, we're actually pulling ourselves down. Like we are really in our subconscious keep holding those things that we're saying to ourselves in, and they come back to haunt us later, whether we want to realize it and acknowledge it or not. So it's important to know what limiting beliefs are, and it's important to know what the ones are that you use against yourself, because not all of us use the same ones. Some of us, you know, have limiting beliefs on what we can do. Some of us have limiting beliefs on what we deserve. Some of us have limiting beliefs on, you know, what we should ask for or shouldn't ask for. Like there's just all sorts of them. So watch that video if you haven't watched it yet. I really loved this quote and I wanted to share it with you. It says, "The goal in life is not to attain some imaginary ideal. It is to find and fully use our own gifts." And we all have gifts, regardless of what you believe about yourself. You have gifts. They may not be the same gifts as somebody else on this call. They may not be the same gifts as somebody else on this team. They may not be the gifts that you want. They may not be the gifts that you wish God had given you, but they're your gifts, and it's our job to figure out a way to use them, because when we don't use them, we don't feel fulfilled. And if you're constantly trying to attain a gift that is not yours, rather than focusing on the gift that you already have, you are not going to be able to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. That's when those limiting beliefs are going to be really hard to keep out of your own head. So we have to kind of outsource the zone of incompetence. Like all the things that we're not good at, those are the things we outsource. Like, for example, I'm not a very good housekeeper. Not because I can't clean, because I hate cleaning. So it would be a wise decision for me to outsource that. Now, when it comes to doing crafts with my kids, to doing schoolwork with my kids, to doing pretty much anything with my kids, that's my jam. That's a gift. So I would never hire a nanny or a tutor or something like that to help my child. Now, I get hired by people on a weekly basis to tutor their children, because right now in this pandemic, they're in the opposite situation. They are not gifted in teaching their own child or tutoring their own child and helping their child with their homework. I literally teach 2 boys a week. I just do homework help with them over the computer. They don't even live in North Carolina. They live in another state. But their mom recognized, this is not my gift. Rather than beating myself up for that, let me outsource that. Let me find someone who is gifted in this area and let me use them. Then the next thing that you're going to want to do is take inventory on how much time you're spending in your zone of competence. So these are activities that you can do, but they're activities that other people might be able to do just as well as you. So for example, I can make a shout out graphic for our team page, but Jen enjoys doing that and she does a good job at it as well. So rather than me spend time doing that, and if she does it just as well as me and she enjoys it, and that's a gift that she wants to give to the team, then why would I I hate to say bother myself because it's not a bother, but why would I add that one more thing to my plate when I've been upright and honest? That's not a gift of mine. Making a graphic is not a gift of mine. Can I do it? Sure. But it's not going to be very aesthetically pleasing. So we want to get it ourselves, now that we've kind of figured out what our zone of incompetence is and then what our zone of competence is, we want to focus ourselves on our zone of excellence. These are the things that we do really, really well. These are the things I would dare say are the gifts that you were given. Maybe they don't just naturally come to you, but you are definitely set up for success when it comes to these activities. These aren't just the things that you are good at. These are the things that you are great at. Okay. So it's really important to make sure that we don't spend our time doing the things we don't need to be doing. I think for myself, especially, one of the limiting beliefs that I tend to have is that it's my responsibility to do it all. Now, I'm not really putting myself down there. I'm not really, being mean to myself. I'm not saying ugly things to myself when I say that, but I am holding myself back. I am telling myself it's your responsibility to do everything for this team. When in reality, it's not. It's no one's responsibility to do everything for the team. And if I did do everything for the team, it would be done okay or good, but it would never be done great because it would be too much on me, on one person. So you need to ask yourself, what good stuff do I need to let go of? What limiting belief am I telling myself? I'm telling myself it's my responsibility to do that. That's a limiting belief because it is limiting my ability to be great by making me focus energy and time on things that I don't need to be focused on. So some questions to ask yourself when you're trying to figure out, is this what I'm supposed to be doing or not, is what's the opportunity cost if I stay here doing this that I'm doing right now? What am I going to miss? What opportunity am I missing if I stay here and do this right now? What am I missing out on if I don't go for the thing that I want to go for? Even if I have more work to do to get there, how much work am I having to do now instead of, and staying where I'm at, instead of doing the work to get where I want to be? Because right now what I'm doing is I'm doing all these mundane tasks and I have anxiety about staying here and being stuck. And I'm just thinking about what I want to achieve all the time. So am I really going to be putting in more work, or is most of my energy being wasted right here where I am anyway? Those are some questions you should ask yourself. I think those would be great questions to ask yourself too when you're considering going for a new job or thing. For me, any kind of change is really, really what's the word I would like to use? Kind of paralyzing, I guess. Any change is really paralyzing for me. So it is really beneficial for me to make a T-chart of pros and cons and see at the end of the chart, are there more things on the pros side or more things on the cons side? And that helps me to decide, even though this is making me anxious because I've never done it before, it's really better for me and I'm wasting all this energy worrying about it. Instead, let's just focus that energy into a positive direction and go ahead and go for it. So if that's something that you struggle with, maybe the T-chart would help you as well. There's also a zone of genius. These are the activities that you are so uniquely created to do that they literally allow your gifts to shine. I would say that for me, one of those is teaching. If you see me teach my preschool class virtually, that's my thing. There is no question that I am doing exactly what I was called to do when I'm doing that. So you need to ask yourself, what do I most love to do? What would I like to do for the rest of my life? What would I like to do? What would I never get bored doing? What work do I do that doesn't even feel like work? That's what your gift is. The stuff that doesn't feel like work is the gift. What activities produce the highest ratio of satisfaction and happiness and joy to the amount of time I spend doing it? what do people tell me I'm really good at? That's interesting. Like, you may even want to use that as a poll in your stories this week. What do you think I am good at? Because I guarantee some of the things that you beat yourself up about, some of the limiting beliefs that you tell yourself, other people see you shining. I think of my girlfriend. She is really good at meal prep. And she's not a coach. She is a client. She's a discount coach, but she's got a weekly menu, even planned with like leftover night and everything, every single week. And today she texted me and was like, girl, I just got done meal prepping. It took forever. And I was like, I was thinking about putting yesterday's popcorn chicken on a salad tomorrow for lunch. Like, I haven't even got that far, you know? So that's something that obviously she's really good at, but she would never think to tell herself she's good at it. So if she asked, that's something I would tell her she's good at. So ask somebody, what do you think? What do they think you're good at? So these are the questions you should ask yourself. And I would even jot these down, or maybe I'll type them in the chat box for you. Because I really think these are some great questions to ask yourself. The first thing is, I'm at my best when. So define when you are at your best. I don't mean when you're at your happiest. I don't mean when you are like satisfied or content. I mean when you are your best version of you. When is that? When I'm at my best, the exact thing I'm doing is. So when you are at your absolute best, what is it that you are doing? Let's get real specific here. When I'm doing that, the thing I love most about it is, like, I can sit here and do this for you with teaching my preschool class. I'm at my best when I am getting to write my own curriculum and I am getting to engage those students and watch them learn because of how I am delivering the content. When I'm at my best, the exact thing I'm doing is interacting with those kids. When I'm doing that, the thing I love most about it is the joy and excitement they have for learning that comes from the way I'm delivering the lesson. And that goes for middle school too, just not right now because virtual middle school sucks. I'm just gonna be honest. But it's get real specific, like really know yourself, really know, like, this is when I'm at my best. This is what I'm doing when I'm at my best. This is how I feel. This is like why I love it. I love feeling my best. I mean, I don't know anybody that doesn't love feeling their best. Most of us don't enjoy doing things we're not that good at, right? Like, I don't enjoy playing golf because I suck at it and it's boring. But there's other people out there that is their gift. I also think it's really important, and a lot of us are perfectionists. It's really, really, really important. And I'm going to go ahead and give that plug to this life-changing magic of not giving a fuck book again, because this really has helped me to overcome this idea of perfectionism. But being wrong opens us up to possibility. Being wrong brings opportunity for growth. It is okay to be wrong. And one of the things I have learned through therapy is that we already know how to be okay. So even if we're wrong, and even if something doesn't go the way we would like for it to go, it's okay, because we know how to be okay. At some point in our lives, we've all been okay or more than okay. So if you're wrong about something, or you make a mistake, or you hit a stumbling block and have to hit restart, it's okay, because you know how to be okay after you are wrong, after you hit a stumbling block, after you make a mistake, after you hit restart. There's no rule that says you're only allowed to start once and you're supposed to get it right. And there's no rule that says once you hit restart, you can't hit restart again. So remember that. If you're asking yourself, but what if I'm wrong? That's a limiting belief. Limiting beliefs lose their power as soon as we consider that they are not true. So it's important to ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? And answer yourself, what if I'm wrong? It doesn't matter. Remember that whatever you look for, you will eventually find it. You may not find it the way the way other people have found it. You may not find it the way you believe you're supposed to find it. You may not find it in this. I think we all have this picture of what our business should look like, or what our family should look like, or what our love story should look like. And that's just a picture. It's a picture that we've put in our minds based on things that we think we believe we want. It's not necessarily a picture based on reality, because if it was, it wouldn't be a picture. A lot of times we worry about the what ifs and the has-beens and all that, and those what ifs don't even actually happen. Remember that whatever you look for, you will find. So why not imagine a world where your assumption of being wrong is not correct? Figure out, how is this belief serving me? If you're constantly holding yourself back with limiting beliefs, ask yourself this question: is this serving me right now? Oh, it probably is not. We hold on to limiting beliefs to protect ourselves from struggle and failure because for whatever reason, we've been programmed to believe that struggle and failure equals bad. Struggle and failure does not equal bad. Think of all the things that you did not get right the first time. The first time you took your first step, the first time you said your first word, the first time you wrote your name, the first time you took a test, the first time you tried to read a book. I mean, I can't think of anything that I did perfectly the first time I did it. Can you? So we've got to stop holding on to these beliefs that we think we're using to protect ourselves from struggle and failure, because struggle and failure are what propel us forward. They're what make us stronger. They're what make us better. They're what make us smarter. And struggle and failure are the things that set us up for the success that we're about to create for ourselves. Beliefs only stick if they serve us in some way. So if you're telling yourself limiting beliefs, then the way that belief is serving you by holding you back, by protecting you, but it's also keeping you from a life very much worth living. And you need to ask yourself if that's really worth it or not. Like, is it really worth it to not ever hear no and never ask somebody if they want to join my Beachbody team, so that I never have to hear no, because no hurts my feelings? Is that really worth it? And then potentially give up on changing hundreds of people's lives through your Beachbody business? Is it really worth it to never go on a first date and then potentially never meet the man of your dreams? I mean, think about all the things that you would hold yourself back out of fear of failure. There are no guarantees in this life. So are we just going to stay inside all day? I mean, I think about that in terms of this pandemic. I've had people say to me, well, I guess you're probably not going to go get on an airplane again, are you, now that you've been sick? Yeah, I've got a trip scheduled for March. I mean, call me ignorant, but we've been living this life this way for a year now. I don't believe that holding my family back from going on a vacation is a good decision for my family. We all get to make those decisions, but I believe that fear of getting on an airplane would hold me back from a lot of joy in life right now that my kids and I deserve to experience. There are people that won't drive a car because they have a fear of getting in a car accident. So they have literally never driven a car. I mean, there's people that won't take the elevator. Just think of all the things that you could hold yourself back from in life. So a good strategy when you find yourself holding yourself back with those limiting beliefs is coming up with alternative beliefs. These are ways that you can kind of trick yourself into believing that your limiting belief is wrong. So you could write down your assumption, like write down, if I invite these people, they're going to say no and laugh about me. And then come up with 4 or 5 possible alternatives to that. So maybe your worry, your fear is that you're going to ask someone to join your team they're going to tell you no and then make fun of you behind your back. I think that's a pretty valid fear for a lot of coaches. 4 possible things that kind of like go against that. What if you reach out to them and their response is, oh my gosh, I've been watching you forever on your stories and I have been meaning to reach out to you. Or this person is someone who is borderline diabetic and considering getting on medication. You reach out to them, they sign up, and then they never have to get on that medicine. Like there's so many different alternatives. Maybe this is someone who needs to be able to stay home with their kids, and now you're giving them an income opportunity. Lots of things that could contradict the limiting belief you're telling yourself. Test those alternative beliefs to see if they could be true. Try it out. Like if you're so fearful that someone's going to say no to you, just try to invite them and see what they say. I guarantee you, yes, some of them are going to say no. But I also guarantee you that a lot of those alternative beliefs that I just said, like the, oh, I've been watching you, I'd like to know more, or the, oh, yes, I really could use this right now, they might actually really happen. So try it and give them the opportunity to happen. By having these limiting beliefs, you're so worried about failure that you're setting yourself up for absolutely nothing. No failure, no success. So what do you get to experience then? Nothing. To me, I'd rather fail than experience nothing. You have to be vulnerable, and it is so freaking hard to be vulnerable. It is so hard to put yourself out there. There's uncertainty, there's risk. You're emotionally exposed when you're doing these things. It doesn't feel safe sometimes, but you have to step out of your comfort zone in order to ever experience success. So here's an example. Saying no to someone, saying I love you first, trying something new, asking someone for help, sharing a piece of writing, or being a photographer and sharing your photography publicly. Imagine, yes, you're putting yourself out there when you do those things, but imagine what you'd miss out on if you didn't. So here's a question to ask yourself. What is vulnerability to me? That would be a really good practice. What is vulnerability to me? And then here are some tips for becoming more vulnerable, for putting yourself out there, for holding back those limiting beliefs or giving yourself more alternative beliefs. Expect that you're going to feel awkward. You're getting outside your comfort zone. So yeah, it's not going to feel comfortable. That's okay. You are going to feel awkward at first, just like you looked awkward the first time you started walking. Just like you looked awkward the first time you got on skis or a bicycle, right? But you would never have the joy of skiing down a mountain in a snowstorm if you never got on the damn skis. So just expect to feel awkward and get used to it. The next time you feel uncomfortable, pause, take a few breaths, and just don't go for the easy distraction. Let yourself feel it. If you're uncomfortable, feel it. If you're the oversharer or an undersharer, take note of which direction you tend to lean and try to nudge yourself just a little bit in the opposite direction. Like I know for me, I used to be a big oversharer, which now I don't really feel like I'm sharing enough. So I need to figure out my happy medium in there. In the beginning, I was an oversharer because I was looking for acceptance. I had this limiting belief that if someone out there on Facebook world told me that what I was feeling was okay, then it really was okay. Now I'm the opposite. I'm undersharing because I don't want anyone out there on Facebook world to know what I'm feeling because I don't want them to judge me. And there's got to be this happy medium. Right now I'm holding myself back. It's a limiting belief. How we protect our vulnerabilities. So we all have vulnerabilities, and it's important to identify them because like I stated before, if you are protecting them to the point where you are losing out on joy because you are thinking of the potential negative outcome. Like if you're that person who won't get on an airplane because you can see it crashing, that's not okay. You're protecting your vulnerability there, but you're also like limiting yourself and holding yourself back from immense joy. Perfectionism is a major shield that we use to protect ourselves. We're not going to do anything unless it can be done perfectly, right? We believe that if we can be perfect, then there will be no shame. Numbing ourselves. This might be drinking, or, I don't even know what a good example of numbing yourself is. The only thing I can think of is drinking, but I'm sure there's other ways. But this is like embracing anything that deadens the pain of discomfort. So if you're uncomfortable and you're doing something to make the discomfort, like just stop feeling it, you are numbing it. And that's not okay. Instead, we need to focus on the fact that we are worthy, that we have boundaries, and we need to stand up, set the boundaries, and then enforce the boundaries. And then engagement. I'm taking risks. I'm letting myself be seen. Let the world see that I am taking risks. So worthiness, I am enough. Boundaries, I've had enough. Engagement, I'm taking risks and letting myself be seen. Stop holding yourself back from whatever is out there that is for you. Stop telling yourself you don't deserve it, that you can't achieve it, that you're not ready for it. No one's ready for it. No one's ready for anything in life. We are all so freaking awkward every single day. And if you think that you are protecting yourself from feeling something by not allowing yourself to fail or struggle, you're not. You are just living a very sheltered, sad life, and you don't deserve that. So, with that said, I would strongly encourage you to identify the limiting beliefs you say to yourself, like I taught in last week's call, and then go through, like dissect them, like I was explaining tonight, and figure out ways to battle them. Like next week's call, I would love for everybody to say, I got super awkward this week, and share how you got awkward. Like, let's put ourselves out there. Let's be vulnerable. Let's risk struggle and failure. And also in that process, potentially achieve something we've been wanting to achieve.